In the vibrant streets of Lahore, where the sounds of the bustling markets blended with the call to prayer, there lived a young man named Ahmed. Ahmed was known far and wide, not just for his striking looks, but for his charm and confidence that could win over anyone. With his tall stature, chiseled features, and piercing eyes that seemed to see right through people, Ahmed was the epitome of male beauty. His jet black hair, always perfectly styled, and his impeccably dressed appearance made him the center of attention wherever he went. Ahmed was the only son of a wealthy family, and his parents had showered him with every luxury imaginable. They had high hopes for him, hoping that he would one day take over the family business and become a respected figure in society. However, as Ahmed grew older, his parents began to notice a change in him. His charm turned into arrogance, and his confidence into pride. He believed that his looks and his wealth made him invincible, that he could have anything or anyone he wanted. Ahmed's arrogance was most evident in his relationships with others, especially with women. He treated them as mere conquests, something to be won and then discarded. He loved the thrill of the chase, the power he held over them, knowing that his looks and charm made it easy for him to get what he wanted. He would often boast to his friends about his latest conquest, without any regard for the feelings of those he left behind. One of the girls who had caught Ahmed's eye was Aisha, a quiet and devout young woman who lived in his neighborhood. Unlike the other girls who fawned over Ahmed, Aisha kept her distance, aware of his reputation. She was beautiful in her own right, with a soft, serene beauty that came from within. But she was also modest and religious, dedicated to her faith and her studies. Ahmed was intrigued by her indifference. He was used to girls falling for him instantly, and Aisha's lack of interest only fueled his desire to win her over. He began to approach her, using his usual charm and good looks to try and break down her defenses. But Aisha was different. She saw through his facade and rejected his advances politely but firmly, reminding him that she was not interested in superficial relationships. Ahmed was not one to take rejection lightly. His pride was wounded, and he became determined to make Aisha fall for him, seeing it as a challenge to his ego. He intensified his efforts, showing up at places he knew she would be, sending her gifts, and even trying to impress her with his wealth and status. But nothing worked. Aisha remained steadfast, refusing to be swayed by his attempts. Frustrated and humiliated, Ahmed's behavior began to change. What started as a pursuit driven by arrogance turned into an obsession. He couldn't understand why Aisha wasn't interested in him like everyone else. His friends noticed the change in him, but whenever they tried to talk to him, Ahmed would dismiss their concerns, insisting that he knew what he was doing. One day, after yet another failed attempt to win Aisha over, Ahmed confronted her outside the mosque. His usual charm was replaced by anger and desperation. "Why won't you give me a chance, Aisha?" he demanded, his voice harsh and uncharacteristically loud. Aisha looked at him, her eyes calm and unwavering. "Ahmed, you see what I cannot give. I live my life according to my faith, and I am content with that. You may have everything that others desire, but that does not mean you can have everything you want. True respect and love cannot be demanded. They must be earned." Her words cut deep, and for a moment, Ahmed felt a hang of something he hadn't felt in a long time: shame. But instead of reflecting on his actions, his pride took over. He sneered at her, masking his hurt with mockery. "You're a fool to turn me down, Aisha. You think your faith makes you better than me? You'll regret this." With that, Ahmed turned on his heel and walked away. But the encounter left him feeling hollow. Despite his outward bravado, Aisha's words haunted him. He tried to push them aside, throwing himself into his old ways, parties, women, and showing off his wealth. But nothing seemed to fill the void that had begun to grow inside him. Then one evening, after a particularly wild party, Ahmed woke up feeling unusually tired and weak. He brushed it off as the effects of the night before, but as the days went on, his condition worsened. His energy drained away, and he began to lose weight rapidly. Concerned, his parents took him to the best doctors, but despite numerous tests, no one could determine what was wrong with him. As Ahmed's health deteriorated, so did his appearance. The once vibrant young man was now a shadow of his former self. His once lustrous hair became thin and lifeless, his chiseled features hollowed out, and his eyes, once full of confidence, now looked sunken and dull. The attention he had once craved and reveled in was gone, replaced by pity and whispers. Desperate to regain his health, Ahmed tried everything: traditional medicine, modern treatments, and even spiritual healers. But nothing worked. The disease, mysterious and relentless, continued to ravage his body. The friends who had once surrounded him, drawn by his charm and wealth, began to distance themselves, uncomfortable with his condition and the change in his demeanor. Ahmed found himself alone, abandoned by those who had once flocked to him. In his solitude, he had plenty of time to think, and as he lay in bed, too weak to move, he remembered Aisha's words. For the first time, he began to reflect on his life, his choices, and the arrogance that had led him down this path. The realization hit him hard. He had spent his life chasing after superficial things, neglecting the values his parents had tried to instill in him. In his final days, Ahmed sought out the one person he had wronged the most. With great difficulty, he asked his parents to contact Aisha, to bring her to see him. When she arrived, Ahmed was barely recognizable. The handsome, arrogant young man was gone, replaced by a frail figure who could rarely speak. Through labored breaths, Ahmed apologized to Aisha, tears streaming down his gaunt cheeks. "I was wrong, Aisha. I thought I could have everything, but I see now how empty my life was. I was a fool to treat you the way I did. Please forgive me." Aisha, moved by his sincerity and the transformation in his heart, forgave him. She prayed with him, guiding him through his final days with kindness and compassion. Ahmed, finally at peace, accepted his fate with humility. He prayed for forgiveness from Allah, hoping that his repentance would be accepted. When Ahmed passed away, the news of his death spread quickly through the community. People spoke of his tragic downfall, of how his pride and vanity had led him to ruin. But they also spoke of his repentance and how, in his final days, he had found peace through humility and faith. However, when Ahmed's body was taken to the cemetery for burial, an unsettling event occurred. As the gravediggers began to lower his body into the ground, they were met with a sudden swarm of scorpions that emerged from the earth, kissing and stinging anyone who came close. Terrified, the mourners and the workers fled, unable to continue with the burial. Every attempt to dig another grave was met with the same result: more scorpions, more chaos. It was as if the earth itself was rejecting Ahmed, a final judgment on the life he had led. In the end, After much prayer and consultation with the local imam, the burial was completed, but the incident left a deep impression on everyone present. Ahmed's story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of pride and the importance of humility and faith. His once envied beauty and charm had faded, leaving behind only the memory of a young man who had learned too late that true worth is found not in one's appearance or wealth, but in one's character and devotion to Allah. And so, Ahmed's story lived on, passed down from one generation to the next, a lesson in the fleeting nature of worldly desires and the eternal significance of living a life of righteousness and humility.